July 26, 2025. And this is Paviel G. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host. And this is War Notes Bulletin coming to you live with the latest dispatches from the battlefield and right here at home in the United States. So strap in, straight through, no intermission report. And again, I'm your host, Paviel G, and reporting from the headquarters here right on the front porch with a co-host, Baby Victor, in the background. So let's go into action. Thank you all for being here. So global flashpoints. What's going on across the globe? Well, Gaza-Israel front right now, the Israel-Gaza war rages as famine deepens in Gaza. More than 59,700 Palestinians have died, with about 57 killed just in the past 24 hours. Airdrops and restricted aid are called, quote, inefficient and dehumanizing, end quote, by the UN, the Oxfam, and MSF, while rights groups demand lifting Israel's siege, safe humanitarian access, and accountability. Now, ceasefire talks remain stalled despite mounting international pressure. Let's go ahead and jump over to Iran and Israel and what's going on with their direct war. Since June 13th, direct airstrikes between Iran, Israel, and U.S. forces have escalated. Israel struck Iranian nuclear and military sites, and Iran retaliated with missile attacks. And the U.S. followed with strikes on Iran's facilities. The Houthis joined the fray, launching missile and drone attacks. Reports now question if all three Iranian nuclear sites targeted were truly destroyed. Only Fordo may have sustained irrecoverable damage. Now let's jump over to U.S. sanctions on Houthis. On July 22nd, the U.S. imposed fresh sanctions targeting a petroleum smuggling network tied to the Houthi movement, part of efforts to curb attacks on Red Sea shipping. Sanctions hit key individuals operating between Yemen and the UAE. We go over now to Ukraine war and its diplomacy over there. The Ukrainian President Zelensky secured 3 new Patriot air defense systems from allied partners and faces renewed internal pressure to strengthen anti-corruption agencies as part of EU accession talks. Welcome, Ashley Watkins. Yes, welcome, Ashley Watkins, to the program. Meanwhile, Russia continues strikes in Odessa, Kharkiv, and Kostyantynivka, and NATO and U.S. supports remain strong, but Moscow dismisses Western resolve as bluff. Welcome, South Korea, to the room. Welcome, welcome. Blessings to everybody in your family. Welcome, Ashley Watkins in South Korea, to the room. Blessings to everyone. Thank you all. So we go over to the DR Congo. Welcome, SVSV Agriculture. Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you all are here. Blessings to everybody and their family. And if you say hello in the chat, I'll definitely shout you out. I appreciate you all being here. And I am here with my co-host, Baby Victor, in the background. Hi, Kaylin. Welcome. Indeed. Welcome, Kaylin, everyone, to the radio program. So what's going on in the DR Congo and Rwanda and their peace deal? Well, a U.S. brokered peace agreement was signed this month between DR Congo and Rwanda, aiming to halt decades-long conflict involving the M23 rebel group. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you all being here, because without you all subscriptions, and if you don't subscribe, which is free to do, then we can't continue this program. Right? So I appreciate you all being here indeed. Now, the agreement that was signed between DR Congo and Rwanda was aiming to halt decades-long conflict involving the M23 rebel group. Analysts say implementation remains the real test. Now let's jump over to Thailand and Cambodia, border war over there. Heavy artillery exchanges and open skirmishes have erupted since July 25th. Casualties mount, dozens killed, over 100,000 civilians displaced. Both nations have recalled ambassadors Thailand favors direct bilateral talks to resolve the crisis. Let's go over to the Taiwan Strait and its tensions. A strategy session at the Aspen Strategy Group warned of rising U.S.-China conflict risk over Taiwan. Experts recommend a dual policy of reassurance and deterrence. Reaffirm U.S. opposition to Taiwanese independence while boosting regional alliances and military readiness. So we'll jump over now to what's going on the U.S. domestic side and foreign war policy. Trump's global peace push. President Trump's ambition to be a global peacemaker is what he attempts to do and is doing the completely opposite, I shall say. Trying to mediate ceasefires in Gaza where he has no business. Trying to mediate in Ukraine where he has no business. India and Pakistan where he has no business. Syria is facing serious setbacks. Everywhere Trump wants to put his nose. Okay, so we know that. Well, Gaza and Ukraine remain unresolved after faltering ceasefire talks. However, short-term deals have been brokered in Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East as of now, according to other reputable sources. The UN's global call to diplomacy I apologize. I have a baby in the background messing with things. Oh, man. So back to UN Global Call to Diplomacy. On July 22nd, the UN Security Council passed a consensus resolution urging peaceful settlement of disputes through negotiation, arbitration, and mediation. Secretary General Guterres decried the moral crisis, quote, the moral crisis, end quote, in Gaza, and warned of surging global hunger and displacement. I will go ahead and I will repeat the latest news for those of you just coming into this live, just joining in. Remember that the live will be available for replay after the stream is over. However, I do like to repeat at least twice when it comes to important global news, because some folks don't want to listen to the mumble jumble all day long. Sometimes they just want to listen to something straight through. They just want to get the overview of what's going on. And they want to see if any of that overview is going to affect them. So if you guys are just joining in, Gaza and Israel front right now, the Israel-Gaza war rages as famine deepens in Gaza. And more than 59,700 Palestinians have died, with about 57 killed in the past 24 hours. Airdrops and restricted aid are called inefficient and dehumanizing by the UN, Oxfam, and MSF, while rights groups demand lifting Israel's siege, safe humanitarian access, and accountability. Welcome, Sean Niemeyer, to the room. Blessings to Mr. Sean and his family, and welcome him to the program. Ceasefire talks remain stalled despite mounting international pressure, according to The Guardian and one other reputable source. Now, when we go over to Iran and Israel and their direct war since June 13th, direct airstrikes between Iran, Israel, and U.S. forces have been escalated. Israel struck Iranian nuclear and military sites. Iran retaliated with missile attacks, and the U.S. followed with strikes on Iran's facilities. The Houthis joined the fray, launching missile and drone attacks. Reports now question if all 3 Iranian nuclear sites targeted were truly destroyed. Only Fordow may have sustained irrecoverable damage, according to Wikipedia and 2 other reputable sources. U.S. sanctions on the Houthis. As of July 22nd, the U.S. imposed fresh sanctions targeting a petroleum smuggling network tied to the Houthi movement, part of efforts to curb attacks on the Red Sea shipping. Sanctions hit key individuals operating between Yemen and the UAE, according to Reuters and 3 other reputable sources. Ukrainian war and diplomacy right now. Ukrainian President Zelensky secured 3 new Patriot air defense systems from allied partners and faces renewed internal pressure to strengthen anti-corruption agencies as part of EU accession talks. Meanwhile, Russia continues strikes in Odessa, Kharkiv, and Kostyantynivka. NATO and U.S. support remains strong, but Moscow dismisses Western resolve as bluff, according to the Deutsche Welle report and 4 other reputable sources. When we jump over to the DR Congo and Rwanda peace deal, the U.S. brokered peace agreement was signed this month between DR Congo and Rwanda, aiming to halt decades-long conflict involving the M23 rebel group. Analysts say implementation remains the real test, according to Wikipedia and 5 other reputable sources. Over in Thailand and Cambodia and their border war, heavy artillery exchanges and open skirmishes have erupted since July 25th. Casualties mount, dozens killed, over 100,000 civilians displaced. Both nations have recalled ambassadors. Thailand favors direct bilateral talks to resolve the crisis. That's according to Wikipedia and 6 other reputable sources. Now, when we go over to the Taiwan Strait and their tensions over there, a strategy session at the Aspen Strategy Group warned of rising U.S. and China conflict risk over Taiwan. Experts recommend a dual policy of reassurance and deterrence, that consisting of reaffirm U.S. opposition to Taiwanese independence while boosting regional alliances and military readiness, according to WashingtonPost.com and 7 other reputable sources. Now, when we come over here to U.S. domestic and foreign war policy, Trump's global peace push includes the following. President Trump's ambition to be a global peacemaker, mediating ceasefires in Gaza, Ukraine, India, and Pakistan and Syria, where his nose shouldn't be, is facing serious setbacks indeed. Gaza and Ukraine remain unresolved after faltering ceasefire talks. However, short-term deals have been brokered in Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East, according to AP News and 8 other reputable sources. The UN global call to diplomacy is as follows. As of July 22nd, the UN Security Council passed a consensus resolution urging peaceful settlement of disputes through negotiation, arbitration, and mediation. Secretary General Guterres decried the, quote, moral crisis, end quote, in Gaza and warned of surging global hunger and displacement, according to AP News and 9 other reputable sources. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your Global War Notes Bulletin. Folks, bold dispatches from battlefields worldwide and reports from home soil. This is War Notes. I am signing off. Please stay vigilant, stay informed. Again, I am Pavi LG. I am your host, your only host. Indeed, I thank you all for being here. And well, actually, no, not the only host. Got a co-host too, and baby Victor's here when he's ready to be, unless he's asleep or something of that sort, or with his father. So we say bye and we say blessings to all. And I thank you all for being here, and I thank you all for listening. Remember that the replay for the live will be available shortly after the stream is over. Thank you all for listening to this latest broadcast anyway, because today is Saturday. Saturday, and the time is flying, July 26, 2025. Thank you all for now.